What's up, for all fans? Back for day 4 and off the bench. Mafia, Shep. Hope you're digging these videos while Scott's away. And if you don't, we don't care. Shep's dad does, so screw you! Anyway, as you can see, there's probably going to be one thing on my mind, one thing that we really need to talk about today, and that is Mets-Dodgers Game 5 NLDS for the world. Well, not the whole world, just moving on to the NLCS to play the Cubs. But anyway, the Mets get it done. And it was the DeGrom and David Murphy show. DeGrom gives up some early runs. The Mets get him the early lead. Right off the bat, first two batters, he has a 1-0 lead. Comes back in the bottom of the inning, has some struggles, gives up a bunch of singles. All of a sudden he's down 2-1. Struggles through 6. In trouble every inning, but somehow still manages to get through it. Still wins the game because of Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy comes in the first inning, doubles in the first run. Comes in later on, walks. And then when they have the shift on, because of Duda being up, and the way he likes to hit it to the right side, everybody's over on the right side, they walk Duda. As he's trying over to second, notices there's no one standing at third. Takes off, gets there. No one even gets there for the tag. No one covers. Wide open. Such a great play, his third base coach didn't even know he was going to do it. He was sitting there wiping dirt away from the bag, and all of a sudden here comes Murphy. Gets the third. Then on a Darno sac fly, gets the second run to tie it up for the Mets. Then later on, comes up against Greinke, hits the solo shot to give them the 3-2 lead, which is what they win by later on. Syndergaard comes in, throws complete gas in the 7th for the Mets, throwing 100, throwing 99, and then just when you're getting ready to catch up to that, he throws an 82. Completely having everybody off guard. Familia comes in, 2 innings saved, 6 outs, does a great job, and the Mets are going on to the NLCS against the Chicago Cubs. Now, Shep, we watched the game in the studio all game. Pretty much that's the only thing we watched. I mean, we watched UCLA Stanford.
Yeah.
That was a blowout. Watched this Thursday Night Football game, but barely paid attention to it because that was awful. This was the game that everybody was on tonight. What did you think of the game? Who was the biggest hero to you? Was it DeGrom in his 6 innings? Was it Murphy getting factoring in all 3 runs? Or was it Terry Collins and his decisions as a manager sticking with DeGrom even though he was in trouble the whole game?
Well, I think, again, you mentioned 3 topics, 2 of them involving DeGrom. So it's got to be DeGrom. By the way, he is mature beyond his years. I mean, he looks like Bob Gibson out there. I referenced Bob Gibson twice in the last 3 days.
You did.
It's amazing, right?
I think he owes you some money or something.
Well, he should have been one of the top 4 players in that whole All-Star game thing. They have Johnny Bench out there, but that's another discussion. Look, DeGrom to do what he did against that payroll was phenomenal. Yes, Murphy was one, hit away from the cycle. He was phenomenal too. But it comes down to pitching. And when you outpitch an ERA leader in Greinke, I think he had like a 1.5 this season? And you talk about the lineup that Greinke had behind him. When you shut down that payroll, the biggest payroll, by $60 million in all of baseball, it's tough to believe that a payroll actually exceeds the New York Yankees. All credit has to go to DeGrom. And I know we had this debate about Harvey and DeGrom. I know this much. DeGrom has been the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 weeks. Kudos to them, and kudos to your Mets. A big, well-deserved standing ovation.
That payroll is so big, I think it actually exceeded the Dodgers' team average. That's how bad they were performing offensively.
Yes.
So the Dodgers are gone. Might be Mattingly gone as well. Who knows? We'll have to see how that happens. A lot of talk of maybe him being fired if they didn't make it further. A lot of talk of Miami wanting him if he was no longer in L.A., so we'll have to see how all that shakes out. But now, as we said, the Mets move on to the NLCS.
Yes.
Game 1. Maybe some people a little surprised because Syndergaard comes in, only throws 1 inning. A lot of people felt he might have been saved for that Game 1. Actually, it was announced, despite the innings limit on him, that Matt Harvey is pitching Game 1 against John Lester and the Chicago Cubs. So, no Arrieta in Game 1, no Syndergaard DeGrom. It's Harvey and Lester. Who do you like in that Game 1? And who do you like in this series between the Cubs and the Mets for the NLCS and the right to go to the World Series?
Absolutely. And I think, obviously, the home field advantage is going to be in the Mets' favor. But I think the fact that Madden is trying to outthink himself and go with a guy like Lester, who I think had a very mediocre season, by the way.
He did 11-10.
Right. That's very mediocre. And then you talk about, Arrieta, who is, to me, the best pitcher in baseball. You could say what you want about Kershaw, you could say what you want about Greinke, but he is the best pitcher in baseball. 22-6, to then have the second lowest ERA in the National League, and the way he pitched. And, of course, the first start, I think he's ever had his postseason career. if I'm not mistaken, he was completely lights out against the Pirates, and no one saw the Pirates losing. I don't care if everyone wanted to make it out like the Cubs were going to win. So what he did in a must-win game is phenomenal. So to me, the fact that they are allowing Lester to take reins of this pitching staff when he shouldn't is going to signify a game-win victory for the Mets. Then you have DeGrom, who is also maybe the best pitcher remaining in the playoffs, so that's game 2 right there. Then you talk about the Harvey factor. This guy has proven to be a gamer. I think this was a strategy all along, by the way, is to set the bar low for Harvey and then have him deliver in the playoffs, which to his credit, and you said this, to come off Tommy John surgery the way he has, he is going on momentum at this point. He's firing based off of fumes. It's not just based, it's a heart. It's all heart for him right now. So you got to love the Mets. You got to love their hitting because they didn't even come alive tonight. And their hitting is going to be improved. I'm excited if you're a New York Mets fan. I see the Mets and I see the Blue Jays in about a week from now.
That'll be interesting. That'll be a great story right there.
Yeah.
Not sure if we get DeGrom in game 2 because it'll still be short rest. You might still get Syndergaard coming out, so it might be Harvey, Syndergaard, DeGrom. We'll have to see. Who knows how Terry Gallin's going to mix it up so that maybe he can get a DeGrom in game 7 if he has to, or how he wants to manage that. We'll have to see how that comes out. Do you think the young bats of the Cubs are stronger, or is it the young pitching of the Mets?
I think Terry Collins' spirit is more important than all of them, but I have to go. You know what? The Blue Jays are the best lineup by far. I think people are making too much of the Cubs. I think it's the Mets, absolutely, to what you said.
So you think those young guys that are trying to swing for the fences might have a little more strikeouts against the Mets than they did against the Cardinals?
I do. I definitely do. And I'm not just saying this because you're 6'5" and you're standing right next to me either, by the way.
And by the way, you pointed out that Arrieta did great against Pittsburgh. Against the Cardinals,
That's so
both
much.
Lester and Arrieta, I think it was 4 runs and 3 runs respectively. One got the win, one got the loss. So it's not like they were, awful and just blew games, but not in the tip-top shape that they were previous to that. So we'll have to see how that pans out as the playoffs go on. Of course, Lester, a ton of playoff experience with the Red Sox against guys like Joe Madden back in the day. So we'll have to see how that goes on.
But Mafia, if he were that great, they wouldn't have got rid of him either. Right?
Well, no, if you're that great and you get a high price and your team stinks, you get what you can for him. That's what they did. They thought he'd come home. He just decided, thanks anyway, I'm going to go to Chicago.
But why even put that out there if he's that great? Why even say, Lester, we want you to go to another team, but come back to us a year later?
Because they needed the pieces and they couldn't afford them.
Well, that worked out well.
Anyway, great NLCS coming up. Of course, game 1 of the ALCS between Toronto and Kansas City coming up on Friday night. We'll be there watching it live. We'll probably talk to you about it afterwards on these videos. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Once again, coming in off the bench, Mafia and Shep in for Pharrell. See you tomorrow.